Welcome to today's class. We'll be looking at all aspects of Excel, from basic understanding of the Excel windows, the cells, the various tabs we have here, the formula bars, and diving deep into analysis. We'll be looking at scenario managers. We'll be looking at goal seek, what if analysis, and we'll also be looking at various functions and operations in Excel. We'll also be looking at formatting in Excel. I have shared a program handout with us on WhatsApp platform. Please, if you've not gone through it, do well to go through it. So I'll open my sheet 1 where we have what we have for today. Here we have what is Excel, application in business, data analysis reporting, Excel interface, workbook, worksheet, ribbon, formula bar, basic data entry, navigation, and we have exercise to do. So let me open where we have what we have here. What is Excel, right? So what is Excel? The concept and explanation. Excel is a spreadsheet program used to store, organize, analyze, and visualize data. Key parts include the workbook, the worksheet, cell, ribbon, and formula bar. What is Excel workbook? Excel workbook is this very file we have opened now. This is Excel workbook. It contains several sheets, just like our MS Word. Look at Excel workbook as your document. So your workbook is like your document. In your document, when you open a document, you see various pages, right? Can be page 1 to page infinity, if at all it gets to infinity. Then in Excel here, when you open Excel interface or Excel application, what you have is a workbook, right? So it contains all these things you're seeing here. Then a worksheet, on the other hand, is like your page, right? A single page in your document. So what we have here, we have 2 sheets open currently. We have sheet 1 here and sheet 2 here. You might be surprised why is sheet 2 coming first and sheet 1 following sheet 2. I rearranged it myself. So if you want to do that, you can still do it by clicking on the sheet name and dragging it over the order to move to the front. So that's that. So let's look at what a ribbon, or the ribbons that we have here in Excel. We have various ribbons here that are grouped into what I call, or what is called, tabs. So we have various tabs here, from File tab, Home tab, Insert tab, Draw, Page Layout, Formula, Data, Review, View, right? These are the various tabs we have. And each of these tabs contain what is called ribbons. So all these buttons you are seeing here, they are called ribbons. And our ribbons are grouped into what is called ribbon groups. For instance, in the Home tab here, you have clipboard ribbon group, you have the font ribbon group, alignment, numbers. And these ribbon group are grouped based on functions and similarities. For instance, the clipboard ribbon group, the function of it has to do with copying and pasting, either copying formats or copying content values of a cell. So in the font ribbon group, it contains everything about fonts, like bold, italic, underline. We have the border of a cell. We have the fonts here. Then we have the font size. You can increase or decrease font size here. We also have the paragraph ribbon group, which has to do with anything paragraph, alignment, right? Center alignment, center top alignment. We have left alignment, right alignment, and center alignment. We also have number ribbon group and all of that. When we move to Insert tab, you see other ribbons here under Insert tab, right? The first ribbon group we have here is the tables. The second one is illustrations. Of course, illustration is a standalone ribbon group. It does not have other ribbons. But when you expand it here, you see other ribbons here, right? Anytime you see this arrow, it's a drop-down arrow telling you we have list of icons or ribbons that are supposed to be displayed in this ribbon group. But because of space constraints, we cannot display all of them here, right? But when you see something like this is called a launcher. This is an arrow with a word, a cap. This arrow or launcher represent or stand for the entire word ribbon group. It means we have other ribbons here that we cannot display because of space. So for you to see them, launch this very group, right? But whereby you see this drop down, it's telling you we have list of things that are supposed to be here, right? But we cannot display them all. They are supposed to be under this ribbon. Take note, this drop down is for a ribbon, while this launcher is for what? Is for the ribbon group. For instance, this has to do with charts, and this chart is called the bar chart or the column chart, right? So, and this is not the only chart we have here. For you to see other chart, what do? You click here. For you to see other column chart, you click on the drop down arrow for you to see more of it. We have the 3D ribbon or 3D chart. We have other column chart, this 100% stack column chart, and we have the stack column chart, right? We also have the bar chart down here. So these are all the column and bar chart that we have here, but we cannot display them all here. Moving forward, we have spark lines here and all of that. So when you move to drawing, we still have order or draw. You get a formula. We have this is the formula bar, and we have the function library. We have the defined names. We have the formula auditing. We move to data. Here we have the filter, the sorting, advanced filter. We have the data tools, the what if analysis, forecast sheet, then all of that. Move to review, view. As you move from one tab to another, you'll notice that ribbon changes and the ribbon group also change, right? For instance, in this very tab, which is the view tab, we have just how many ribbon group? We have 5 ribbon groups here, which are macro, windows, zoom, show, and workbook view. If you move to data tab, we have ribbons here, different ribbons. So you try to explore this on your own, right? So that's all about the ribbons, right? So move to the formula bar. This is the formula bar. This is the formula bar. This is the formula bar. What's the function of the formula bar? It helps us to display everything we type in the cell, right? Anything you enter here in this cell, it will be displayed here. It displays the formula. If I also hit something like equal to 5 plus 2, 5 plus, okay, plus 2, I hit it, it will display 7. But if I check in the formula bar, it's telling me this 7 is not just 7. I did not type value 7. What I entered was a formula adding 2 to 5 to give me what? 7. Is that understood? Please, if you are following, give me a thumbs up, or you can react with your favorite emoji. Let me be sure that you are following. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. You can drop your hand down. You want to ask a question, Michael? Okay, let's continue. So let's look at navigation. How do we move about? How do we go about moving from one cell to another, one sheet to another in this Excel workbook or a sheet, right? Navigating around, we can use shortcut to save our workbook. We can also use Control Z for undo, Control R to move, Control arrow to move, right? For instance, if I move to the end, if I want to move to the end of the worksheet, I use Control plus my right arrow key. If I want to move to the last row in this worksheet, which is 1,048,000, I think 576, we'll just use Control down arrow key and we get there. 1,048,576. This is the last row in this very worksheet. And of course, Excel worksheet contains 1,048,576 rows and over 16,000 columns to the right. You can see the last column here is called column XFG. So that leads us to the naming of the row or the row headings and the column heading. Any value you see here on the row side or the column side, they represent a column and the row heading respectively. For instance, this XEM is the column title for this very column here. So we call this column XEO, column XEP. As well, let me move up. This is called row 1, row 2. This is called column A, column B, column C. You are seeing bunch of things here. This bunch of boxes you are seeing here, they are called our cells, right? You are seeing different boxes or blocks here. These blocks are called what? Our cells. So this cell is formed by what? Combination with by combination of what? The column and the what? The row. So where a column and a row intersect, I was able to highlight this. I just click on the column title F, hold my control key and click on row 5. Then it gives me this. Where they intersect, it forms a cell. And this cell is called cell F5. You can see the name box here. This place is called the name box. The name box will display the cell name. Any cell you click, the cell name will be displayed here. And each cell has a unique name. No two cells have the same name. Are we following? If you are following, please react with your favorite emoji. All right. So this is cell. If you check, this cell is different from the rest of the cells. How? It is surrounded by a thick green line. And this thick green line is called the cell selector. This thick green line is called what? The cell selector. The cell selector helps us to know the position of the active cell or the cell that is currently active on our worksheet. If I click on a different cell, say cell E8, the active cell will move to that place, right? You cannot type outside the active cell. That's what it means. So any cell that is active, you want to perform any calculation, you want to type anything, enter value, it will be entered on that very cell that is active. All right. If I'm too fast, please call my attention. If I'm too slow, you also call my attention to that. Okay. So what do we do? For us to move, for us to move from one sheet to another, what do we do? We click on that very sheet, we are there. If we want to add a new sheet, we use the plus sign. If we want to rename a sheet, what do? We double click on the sheet name to rename it. I've double clicked here and I can name this one day one. Day one, right? You can also space and type 1, enter. It has been named day one. If I want to rename this, I can do same thing by double clicking there or right clicking on the sheet name and I click on rename. I can rename this and call it anything, maybe Genob, and I enter, right? So if I want to move this day one over Genob, if I want the day one to be here and Genob to be here, what do? I click on day one, then drag it over Genob, place it here. Day one is here. Same thing with day 3. If I want to move it, I can move it over here and we have the day 3. If I want to see all the sheets that are listed here, maybe we'll open plenty sheet and we cannot see all of them here. What do? I right click on this very place, right click and you see all the sheet. If I want to move back to day 1, I double click on day 1 or click on it, make it active, click on OK, and we are there. That's how to navigate around. If you want to highlight in a cell, what do? Just like every other application, you click and drag to highlight. A rule of the thumb, note one thing here. If you click here, if you check down the status bar, this bar here is called the status bar, if you look down the status bar, you see ready, right? It's showing here, ready. Can you see it here? So if this place is not showing ready, if the status of our work is not showing ready, and you try to highlight, you'll not be able to highlight. You may be able to highlight within the cell, but not across cells. Let's try that and see. This is showing ready, so we can click and drag now. It has been highlighted. If I click inside the cell to type, the status have changed to enter, meaning I can enter a value here or enter anything that I want to enter. So now if I try to highlight, I can only highlight within that cell. I cannot highlight outside the cell, right? But if I click outside, then click back on the cell, and I check my status bar, it is showing ready. The status is what? Ready. I can highlight, click and drag, right? If you check here, if I click again, it is showing me edit. Note that you have seen three things here now. The first status we saw was ready, the second one was enter, and the third one now is what? Edit. What are their differences? It means I have typed something here before, so whatever I want to enter here, I'm editing what is on the cell. I'm editing the cell. So if I type anything here, it means I'm editing. So if I come outside, click here, it is showing ready, because we check nothing on my cursor. Let me say the cell, the indicator line is not there. It means I'm not entering any value. That's for this, right? But when the indicator line is there, it's showing that I can type inside now, right? That's enter. That's not to say when it's showing ready, you cannot enter any value. You can enter. The only time you can enter is when it's showing ready, showing edit, or even showing enter, right? But when you want to highlight, it must be on ready, especially when you want to highlight across cells or different cells. Okay. Then note one thing again. Note one thing. If I want to highlight non-contiguous cells, these are contiguous cells. Contiguous cells are cells that share boundary. Contiguous cells are cells that share boundary, right? If they are not sharing boundary with the other, it means I cannot highlight them like this. For instance, I want to highlight the student and also highlight the science or maths without highlighting English. That won't be possible if I highlight like this. You see, right? So if I want to highlight both of them together without highlighting this English column, what do? I hit my control key and highlight this way. Are we following? All right, that's how to highlight non-contiguous cells, and I can perform calculation with that. So here I have the student, and here I have science, which is what? My table. Okay, ask your question. If you have a question, Michelle.
And sir, please do that and highlighting stuff again that you highlight to say without touching this English.
All right.
I don't really get.
All right. Thank you. Okay, to highlight non-contiguous cells, what we do, you first highlight the first portion you want to highlight. Hold your control key, move to where you want to highlight again, and highlight it. The non-contiguous cell will be highlighted simultaneously. Is that understood?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. So this is our table. If you look, this is our table, right? This is our table. Our table array is from column A to column D and row 1 to row what? To row 4. So this means our array is A1 to D4. So if I come to the cell name here, the name box, and type A1 colon D4, it will highlight this array D4 and enter, it will highlight it. So let me click outside and you see how it works. So this is A1 column D4. I enter, this array will be highlighted. So this is a table or array. So if I stand here on A4 and I want to highlight to this A1, I want to highlight to D1 without dragging, I can easily highlight the table by doing what? holding my shift key and the right arrow key, it will highlight to the next one until I get there. But if I want to highlight it once, what do? I hold my control and shift together, then right arrow key. It will highlight to the end of the table. Then I want to highlight down, the same thing, control plus shift key, it will highlight to the end of the table downward. I take it again. If I want to highlight to the end of the table, row wise, what do? I hold my control key, shift key, and right arrow key. If I want to highlight to the end of the table downward, same thing. While my control key, shift key is still pressed down, what do? I hit my down arrow key and I've highlighted it. All right. So that's that for navigation. If you have any question, you can ask. So let's look at cell ranges. So let's look at cell and array. This is a cell. This block is a cell. When I highlight two or more cells together, it becomes a range. For instance, this is my column, right? And I have a range here in this column, in column F. So if I do F of F, F column F, it will highlight, okay, let me use another one, which is G colon G. It will highlight the entire G column, right? And that's a range, right? So if I do G1 column G5, it will highlight from G1 to G5 for me. So this is a range of G1 to G5. So this is a column range or a vertical range. So in the same way, let me say 5 or 5, like 5, and I hit enter, hit 5, right? Another 5 here. And let's see. So it will highlight the entire row 5, right? So if I need a range under row 5, what do? I can say A5 column, okay, let's say A6. There is A6 column what? Column J6. J6. So if you check, everything here is under row 6, right? And if I hit enter, it will highlight from A6 to J6. So this is still what? A range. And this range is a row range, right? But if I highlight more than one row, right? More than one cell, column wise, and more than one cell, row wise, cutting across different rows and different columns, it will form what is called an array or a table, right? A typical example is what we have here. So this table is a table array of A1 toward D4. So if I stand anywhere and click here, enter A1 column D4, it will highlight this very table, and this is our array, right? So let's move to renaming of cell. We can rename cells, right? For instance, this place can be our total science score, right? So I can just say total here. If I want to total the whole of this place, I can just call it total score, right? Or average. Let's say I want to name this place average and this place total, this place sum of the scores here. Or I can just stand here and have total for each of these students, right? Total for both mathematics, English, and co. Total. So if I want to have total for this, you know I need to add this together to get the total here. Same thing with average and same thing with maybe any other thing I want to look for. Okay, so let me look for total of, or for these students, what will be the total for mathematics, English, and co? How do I get it? I can say equal to B2 plus C2 C2 plus D2, and I enter. I've gotten my total here, right? So anytime I want to use this total, I can also use it anywhere elsewhere. But if I don't want to do that, if I don't want this to be called E2, so that anywhere I am, I will not be stressing my brain to come back and check if this is E2 or if it is even E3 or E4. What do? I can name it as what? Total. John total. So for me to rename it, what do? I come and click on the cell name while on E2, right? For the John's total. So I can just name it J underscore T. That's for John's total. Or J underscore total. That's for John's total. And I hit enter. So anywhere I am, even in general worksheet or G3, if I hit here, if I come and say for J, sorry, yeah, J underscore total and hit enter, it will take me back to this place, right? So let's say I want to perform some calculations here that involves J underscore total plus 100 or divide by 100 or divide by 3. That's I want to get the average now. J underscore total divide by what? 3 to get the average. And I'll get this, you see. Without stressing myself, it will pick it for me, right? So that's the importance or the advantage of what? Renaming a cell. And no two cells can have the same name. Do not forget, this very name here is having a workbook scope. Remember, I told you all these sheets here constitute our workbook. So anywhere you go, any name that has a workbook scope, anywhere you go, you see, if you call the name, it will appear, right? Just like this J underscore total here is having a workbook scope. See it here. If I go to another sheet and click on the name, this drop down arrow here, you still see J underscore total. So if I don't want to name it, if I don't want to give it a workbook scope, I can go to define name. From define names here, click on define name, and you'll see here we have workbook scope. So you can decide to give it Genob, day, or sheet 3. So if you use this one, any of these things, any of these ones here, it means you are giving it a worksheet scope and not a workbook scope. So if I try to rename this very D5 here to sheet 3 sheet, right? Or day 1 sheet, right? That's D5. If I go to any of the sheet, I will not see it there. So let's try to name it. I click on day 1, then the name should be what? Eru for Erumento. Eru, word underscore M, right? If you check here, Genob D5, right? And this dollar sign here is a reference. So I'm referencing Genob or Genob sheet and D5 in Word, day 1. So anywhere I am, if I click day 1, if I choose Eru underscore M, it will take me toward Genob worksheet. Only if I am in day 1. So let's click enter. I'll be okay. You see, let's try it here. I'm in Genob. If I click here, I only see this J underscore total, right? If I go to sheet 3, the same thing under sheet 3, I will only see J underscore total. But if I go to day 1, I'll see J underscore total, and I will also see arrow underscore M. You see. So if I click on arrow underscore M, it will take me back to Genob worksheet. Do you understand? Because this day 1 here, the arrow underscore M is referencing a cell in Genob, which is cell D5. So if I enter something here, say any value here, I can perform calculation with it. only in day one, right? Even in arrow here, you cannot call Genob on arrow underscore M. It will not come out because the naming convention or the naming scope, the name scope is what? A worksheet scope and not a workbook scope. But this J underscore total is having what? A workbook scope. So it means anywhere you go, provided you are still in this workbook, it will show there. Is that understood? If you don't understand, please raise up your hand, ask your question. I will take it again. If you understand me, you can just react with your favorite emoji.
Sorry, what is the workbook scope and the worksheet scope?
Okay, we are in this class now. We are 3 persons in this class. So see the workbook scope as this very class that comprises the 3 of us. So if I give us 10,000 naira now, that 10,000 naira is for everybody in this workbook, I mean in this very class. So it means when you call Genesis, you will see the one 10,000 with me. If I go to Erumento, I will see the 10,000 naira with Erumento. If I go to Michelle and any other person in this call or on this call now, I will see the 10,000 naira with the person. That means everybody is having equal right to view or is having access to the 10,000. Do you understand? So if I say the 10,000 is for Erumento, that is like a worksheet scope. If you go to Erumento, you see the 10K. If you move away from there, you go to Genesis, you'll not see the 10K. If you go to Michelle, you'll not see the 10K. Is that understood?
Yes.
So it's like me saying, see this money is for all of you. Don't eat it alone. So everybody has equal right to the money. They can see the money. So we can just decide to keep the money somewhere. So anybody can have access to the money, right? The 10K. But if I give you the 10K and specify that this 10K is for Eromento, no other person can see that 10K. Whether or not I give it to Michelle to give it to Eromento, I give it to anybody on this call to give it to Eromento, the money is for Eromento and nobody can see the money apart from Eromento.
Okay.
Is that understood? So that Erumento, if I give money to Erumento, that's like a worksheet scope. So I'm defining a name, giving it a worksheet scope. It means you can
Okay.
only see it in
Yes.
sheet 3 if the scope is defined for sheet 3. If it is defined for GenOp, you can only see it in GenOp. If it's defined for day 1, you can only see it in day 1. But when I give the money to everybody on this call, that is like our workbook scope. And the workbook, of course, is made up of different worksheets. Like this sheet 3 sheet, journal day 1, and even if I add more sheets, all of them forms what is called a workbook, right? And any
Okay. I
name
get
that
it.
has
I
that
get it
workbook
now.
scope, you can see it in every worksheet you enter. Or let me even use your house for instance. We can have a parlor. We have a house, one parlor, different rooms. So the different rooms are sharing the same parlor. It means the parlor is not for a particular room only. So anything we come and keep in the parlor, like the television that we keep in the parlor, is for everybody. Everybody can use the television, go and sleep. But if we have a television in somebody's room, that television is not for everybody in this house that we are living in. The television is only for that particular room. Nobody can have access to that television apart from the owner of the room. So the room is your worksheet, while the house, the entire building, is your what? Is your workbook. Is that understood?
Yeah. I think you have explained this
All
before, so
right,
it
that's
makes
good.
my mind.
Thank God we are getting it. All right, sorry, I want to see the people on this call. Okay. That's cool. All right, let's continue. We have total here for this. I can total the rest. But to avoid this, let me just use a function, but it's not necessary for now. You still learn function in the next class or in 3 days time. So B1, B2, colon, D2. I close my bracket, enter. So I have total for this. All right. So that's how to enter data in Excel. So for you to enter data, you know what to do. So you have assignment here, or the exercise we'll be doing is that we should enter what student scores and save it as what the one class score, right? The one underscore class scores. So that's the exercise we'll have for today. Of course, I've created the student record already, so I can rename this with maybe CROK or any other subject. Let's call it biology. Let's call it biology. Okay. So let's save this workbook now. We are not saving the worksheet. We are saving the workbook. So if we save it now, all the worksheets are going to be saved together, despite the fact that we are on the one sheet now. We are saving the file, and the file is our workbook, right? The file extension for the workbook, which is the spreadsheet, will be XLSX. So for us to say, what do? We can use shortcut Control S, right? Or we go through the file tab, we click on save or save as. If we click on save, it will take us to save as because we have not saved this file before. Click on save, it will take us to save as. And where do I want to save this very file? Where do I want to save it? I will save it. If you check here, we have OneDrive personal. It means if I save it here, it will be saved to the cloud. I don't want to save it to the cloud. I want to save it to this PC, which is what on-premise saving. I go to desktop. That way I want to save my file. I click on desktop, double click on it to open it, right? Then inside desktop here, I want to create a folder called Excel class from beginner to advanced. Excel, okay. Yeah, Excel class, that's for folder. Excel class. Let me leave it Excel class. What is the way to save this file as? I'll open the Excel class folder and save the file there. The file name should be what? Who can remind us? The file name should be the one class scores, right? The one class scores. The one underscore class. I'll add underscore scores. Sorry, scores. The file extension will be that XLSX. That's for the Excel, but we don't need to pick the file extension here. Excel will automatically pick it for us. And I save. I click save. Okay, so if you check here, up here, we have the one class score, right? That's because we have named it before. So if I open a blank document, which is, if you study the shortcut I sent you, you see that to open a blank document, a blank workbook, or a new workbook, a new document, a new presentation, you click Control plus N. So Control plus N will open a new workbook for us. If you check here, we're having book 2, right? Because another workbook has been opened, which is the one class. So this one is still showing book 2 because we have not saved this file with a name. Provided we are not saving with a name, it will be coming with the default name, book 1, book 2, depending on how many workbooks you've opened so far. So I've opened 2 workbooks now. This one is day 1, this one is book 2, right? So I'll close everything here and I will go back to my folder, which is inside my desktop folder. So I have a Z class here. I open the folder and I have the day 1 class call, right? If I right click, I can see the properties of this. So which the properties of it, show more, and check the properties. So the properties here will tell me all what we have here. So it's saying the file type is what? Microsoft Excel worksheet XLSX. That's the extension they told us to save it with the other time, right? The location is inside home PC, the desktop folder, Excel class. That's where our file is located. Then we can also see the file size. The size is what? 41.5 kilobytes. The date the workbook was created is Thursday, 25th September 2025 as at 9:35 p.m., right? It was modified the same day, 9:35. That was when it was last modified. Then we can see other information about the file here. I can close the properties. So if I double click here, I open it. So it will load. This is what we have now. Right? Any question? Okay, in the absence of no question, we'll call it a day. We'll call it a day. I will drop your assignment for you. You do the assignment and submit it tomorrow before 5 p.m. I'll mark the assignment. If you don't complete all the assignment and the exercises for this class, you'll not get a certificate at the end. Okay, in the absence of no question, we call it a day until we see again. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much.